All right, in this video, we're going to work the following problem. It says solve the following equation for theta on the interval from 0 to 2 pi. So first off, they specify this interval in radians, right? Because there's no degree sign, so that defaults to radians. The equation that we have is 3 cotangent theta plus 12 equals 0. So what we want to do is to use the rules of algebra to get the cotangent theta by itself on one side of the equation. So the first thing that we need to do is to subtract 12 from both sides. And that will get the 3 cotangent theta by itself on one side. So we're a little bit closer to getting cotangent theta by itself on one side. The next step then would be to divide both sides by 3. And so then over on the left-hand side, we have cotangent theta by itself on one side of the equation. And then we have negative 12 divided by 3. That's going to come out to be negative 4. So we talked about the values of tangent theta before that are on the unit circle, the points that are on the unit circle, the special angles, right? A negative 4 is not going to be one of those. So we're going to have to use our calculator to figure that out. There is no inverse cotangent button on the standard calculator, right? So we're going to have to express cotangent in terms of tan. So cotangent theta is 1 over tan theta. And that's equal to negative 4. You can write that as a fraction. And then what we want to do is to solve for tan theta. We can do that by cross multiplying. 1 times 1 is 1. And tan theta times negative 4 is negative 4 tan theta. All right, and then to get tan theta by itself on one side of the equation, all we have to do is divide both sides by negative 4. So we get that the tangent of theta equals negative 1/4. Okay. All right, and then we can use the inverse tangent on this, and we'll have that theta would be the inverse tangent of negative 1/4, like so. Okay. All right, and so going to our calculator, and I'm going to use Desmos. If I do arctan of negative 1/4, I get this value, which is negative 0.24 to 2 decimal places. All right, so that's what the calculator is going to give us, but there's an issue with that, right? And the issue is that we want all of the solutions in the interval from 0 to 2 pi, right? And so clearly, right, this value negative 0.24 is not in this interval, right? That number is less than 0. Remember, 2 pi is about 6.28. So we want all the solutions of this equation that are from 0 to 6.28, and this is negative, so clearly not. It doesn't fit that criteria, right? And so what's going on here, right, is that you've got to remember that the inverse tan is always going to give you values, right? The range is from minus pi over 2 to pi over 2, like so. And if you think about the tangent, right, the values of tangent up in the first quadrant, tangent's going to be positive, right? And in the fourth quadrant, it's going to be negative down here. And since we're taking the inverse tan of negative 1/4, that's going to give us some angle that's down here, okay? So that angle is down here. That means that that angle is between 0 and negative pi over 2, right? But what we want are the solutions that are in from 0 to 2 pi. So this is actually the negative 0.24 is the solution of the equation, but it's not one of the ones that we are looking for, right? So how do we find the ones that are in 0 to 2 pi? Well, the calculator is going to give you this solution down here from 0 to minus pi over 2. There is going to be another quadrant up here, quadrant 2, where the tangent is negative, okay? And then, of course, down here in quadrant 3, the tangent is positive. All right, and so what's going to happen is that if I draw the complete unit circle right here, the other solution is going to be directly opposite, right, of this solution over here. So it's going to be over here on the unit circle, like so, okay? And we talked about that in an earlier video as to why that would happen, but basically you can think about this, these points down here in the fourth quadrant are going to have positive x values and negative y value, right? And then this up here, this point up here that's directly across on this straight line, it's going to have the x and y coordinates are going to be the same in absolute value, but with the signs reversed. In other words, they're going to be the opposites. It's going to have a negative x value, right, the opposite of the x value here, and the y value is going to, again, also be the opposite here. The y value is going to be positive. But when you divide those two numbers, because one's positive, one's negative, and an absolute value, they're the same, you're going to get the same answer over here when you look at the tangent here. All right? And so what I need to do then is to take and add pi units, right? Go pi units, which is halfway around the circle, right? And that's where I'm going to find my other solution, okay? Or a solution that is in the interval from 0 to 2 pi. So instead of doing theta equals tan inverse negative 1/4, it's going to be tan inverse of negative 1/4 plus pi. All right, and so I'm going to calculate that out. And I get 2.90 to 2 decimal places. Okay. All right, so that is going to be my first solution, and that is in between 0 and 2 pi, right? In between 0 and, remember, 2 pi is around 6.28, so that's clearly one of the solutions, right? That's of this equation that's in this interval right here. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is to, again, go another pi units around the unit circle. So I'm going to go starting and go another pi units. In other words, I'm going to start at this solution that the calculator gave me, right? This minus 2.4, it looks like, and then add one complete revolution around the unit circle, which is 2 pi units. So the next solution that I'm going to get, right, is going to be 2 pi plus tan inverse of negative 1/4, like that. And that's going to give me the other solution. All right, and so when you have taking the tan inverse of a negative value in these problems, it's going to give you a value down here. You're going to have to add pi to it, and then to get the first solution, and then another pi to it to get the second solution. If the number you're taking the tan inverse of is positive, though, right, it's different. We covered that in a previous video. So if that's the case you're looking for, you need to look at that previous video. All right. So this procedure that I'm showing you here will work when you're taking the tan inverse of a negative number. All right, so we need to do 2 pi plus this. And so we get approximately 6.04, right, to 2 decimal places. And those are going to be our two solutions in the interval from 0 to 2 pi.